Good morning and welcome back. Last week we saw a lot of sound and fury, lot of noise, lot of outrage, and all because Quebec had exercised its constitutional right to invoke and pass a bill 62 which aims at curbing the use of burqa, not hijab. And the reaction from the Prime Minister, from the Premier of Ontario, and practically from all the politically correct politicians was that this is undesirable. It is outright legalized racism. Is it really so? But when I heard the Premier of Quebec saying, exact words were, "You see me, you speak to me. I speak to see, your face, you face mine." It's a part of communication. It's a question in my mind that is not solely religious, it's human. So, what's wrong with that? Anyway, let's take why Quebec, of all the provinces, the 10 provinces and territories here, 3 territories, and no other province has passed such a law banning burqa. Well, let me at the outset make it very clear that the whole objection is to burqa and chadar and not to niqab, hijab, not to covering your head. So that has to be taken into consideration when we say at that time. Starting with the first PQ government in Quebec way back in 1970, Quebec began developing its own immigration policies, which were not in tune with the Canadian policies, the total federal policies. The primary objective was to ensure that all the new immigrants to Quebec would be from the Francophone regions. Now, let's not forget once again that Quebec is the only province in Canada which is monolithic, and the only jurisdiction in North America, the whole of it, which is not predominantly Anglophone. Quebecers have fought hard to defend their language, culture, and history ever since their defeat in 1759. They rejected the Durham Report in 1835, and the Crown and its Canadian ministers supported these efforts of Quebec all the time. There have been instances when the Quebecers, some of them disagreed, but the other provinces and the federal government always sided with the people who wanted to create a monolith province, an oasis of monoculture in the desert of multiculture. Given these conditions, is it amazing that the Quebec has a desire to maintain its unique identity? It doesn't want to be turned into a swamp by outside influence that would change its demographics. That, I think, is understandable. Let's be clear. Quebec's immigration policy does not say simply that immigrants need to speak French. Now, here is a very important discrimination. The immigration policy clearly specifies Francophones, that who will speak French and live in the French language and French culture at home and in work. And as a result, a Chinese, a Pakistani, or an Indian applicant who is able to speak French is not given the same amount and the same treatment as would become given to a Francophone. And that's why majority of the immigrants in Quebec are from the former French colonies like Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Lebanon, and Haiti. some people who came to Canada as immigrants did migrate to Montreal, other parts of Quebec, but predominantly it has been Francophone. So the second thing which has to be considered is the unintended consequences of this distinct immigration policy. And now what has happened is that the majority of the immigrants from these French-speaking countries, the Francophone countries, were Muslims. So it's estimated that by 2025, this is the estimate by the Census Canada, more than 50% of the Montreals will have a Muslim heritage. They may be believers in Islam or not, but they will have a heritage which is Muslim. Now this is debatable. A global ethnic culture melange, as it has been, this city is seen to be the best of Europe and best of North America, and it has a truly unique experience. Can you believe Schwartz, St. Catherine, St. Jazz Club, and the Old World Charm? And the people may forget, but Montreal was, until 1980s, the largest city of Canada and national seat of commerce and capitalism beyond Toronto. Leave Montreal aside. If you take this cosmopolitan city out of Quebec, the rest of the Quebec is absolutely monolithic. Purely Quebec is a province hinterland who see themselves threatened by the anglicized and the politically correct policies, both at the provincial and at the federal level. Stephen Dion, at one time hopeful to be prime minister, one time the leader of the Liberal Party, and now the ambassador to European Union, used to say that the quiet revolution of 1960s meant the state, the government, replaced the Catholic Church as a defender of French language and culture in Quebec. And the result was Bill 101, which protected French as a lingua franca of commerce in the province, provincial separatism. And when Bill 101 was passed, there was no grumbling. Bill 60, which bans burqa, is nothing but an offshoot and an offspring of Bill 101. The moment Bill 101 was passed, all the sane people who firmly believe in concept of liberty had stated unequivocally that the result would be another bill which would be harmful for the minorities. Whether it's harmful or not, something different. Now let's see what difference is in worth defending. Most important is us versus them. We are better than they are. We are superior here than what these people bring. Calling your society distinct is one thing, but distinct need not mean better. It becomes something distinctly different. Now, ironically, part of the Bill 62 debacle, which was it was aligned with Donald Trump's anti-Muslim, anti-immigration trend. But there's a difference. While Trump was being criticized by the politically correct, Quebec had a curious problem. While the Quebecers themselves were in favor, the politicians outside the province and the Montreal, because of the more than 50% expected majority, made the politicians in Montreal cringe. But barring Montreal and people outside Quebec, all the Quebecers supported this bill. they are in its favor. You see, politics makes strange bedfellows. Ethno-nationalism is the strangest bedfellow. And the irony is that the former champions of Francophone are now cribbing. Now come to the bill, or rather the law, because it has been passed by the parliament. It states very clearly that you will not have a covered face when you want to receive a public service. You want to go to the hospital, you have to remove it. You want to ride in a tram or a bus or a train, you have to remove your burqa. You want to go to an office, to a university, you have to remove the burqa. Anywhere you want public service, anywhere you have to interact with the government officials, you have to remove the burqa. Now the point is, some people say, why should we remove it? It's our religion. But what happens is, why do the Muslim countries ban burqa? You know, there are 11 countries, non-Muslim countries, which have banned burqa. Belgium, France, Netherlands were the 3 countries which specifically banned burqa. Then Bulgaria, Latvia, Austria, Germany banned burqa. And the list doesn't come and there. If I tell you the strongholds of Islam have banned burqa, but not hijab. Again, because hijab shows the face, burqa covers the face. Bangladesh has banned burqa. And Bangladesh has the fourth largest Muslim population. First is Indonesia, second is India, third is Pakistan, fourth is Bangladesh. Malaysia has banned burqa and even niqab, and the Supreme Court of Malaysia stated very clearly that banning burqa has nothing to do with the women's constitutional right to profess or service our Muslim religion. Islam does not make it obligatory to cover the face. Now, this is not me who is saying it. It's the Supreme Court of a Muslim country, Malaysia. Egypt has banned burqa for the universities. Tunisia banned women from wearing Islamic dress, including headscarves, even hijab, in schools and colleges. But it was ignored, this ban was ignored till 2006. But in 2006, the government came with a heavy hand, no burqas. Turkey. Well, when Kemal Atatürk made Turkey independent, he banned all Muslim dress, even face cap. Now it's again reverting to Islam. 90% of the population is Muslim, and the restrictions have been there right from the beginning. They were relaxed, but even today, they are not allowed to cover their face. They can only cover their head and hair, but not the face. If they want to go to civil service, go to the university, or go to the government offices. Quebec law also says don't cover the face. Cover the hair, all right. Cover your head, all right. There's no problem. Don't cover the face. So Turkey is there. Morocco, 98% population of Islam, mostly Sunnis, have restrictions against women wearing hijab. Hijab is seen as a sign of political Islam or fundamentalism, and Morocco bans it. Syria, the Syrian Minister of Higher Education announced that the government has to ban students, teachers, and staff from covering their faces in the universities, because these veils run counter to the principles of the country's safety principles and secularism. Now, if you say you are a secular, There's no problem because as all these Muslim countries, and not one, but dozens of them have banned burqa. So what's the problem with a secular province or a secular country banning burqa? If France and Germany can do it, and Germany is the darling of the immigrants, if Bulgaria and Latvia can do it, are we that regressive and petty-minded to want to enslave women? Why this going tongue to the fundamentalists when we have an example of a baker's dozen of the Muslim countries saying burqa is not permitted? And in case burqa is not permitted in the Muslim countries, why should we tremble that the Muslims will get annoyed? Malaysia, Bangladesh, Tunisia, Morocco, Turkey, Egypt, Afghanistan, Syria, and the list goes on and on. So, this is all sound and fury to pander to the votes, to pander to the baser instinct. As a matter of fact, I think the Muslims should take it, and especially the women should take it up, because they are being discriminated against. The moment they wear burqa, they are stigmatized. And if they are like other women, what's wrong with that? They will become a part of the country. All this hue and cry by the Prime Minister and the Premier of Ontario especially is a basic effort to placate voters and get votes. From the point of view of the national security, internal safety, or even the religious practice, there is no harm if Bill 60, which has been enacted into law, is implemented. Let's not unnecessarily waste our time. If Muslim countries can do it, so can Quebec do it. Thank you.